we at the table. We at a different table, we still at the table, y'all. So y'all know what that mean. God got back with me. And what he got back with me this week about was, we were talking about forgiveness on the podcast this week and the misconceptions around that. But then later in the week, I was talking with one of my friends and we started to talk about why it's so hard for people to forgive themselves, right? Not forgive other people like I talked about on the podcast, but why it's so hard for you to forgive you, right? And she was saying she didn't know, and I was like, okay, I think I got a little theory. Right? And my theory is the reason that it's so hard for us to forgive ourselves compared to us to forgive someone else, which is already hard, but the reason why it's harder for us to forgive ourselves is because we know so much more about ourselves. We know everything about ourselves. Like, it's hard for us to forgive somebody else for what they did to us, what we know about what they did to us. But for us, like she was talking about how a lot of things that she could hide behind because no one knew, right? And I'm like, that's it. Like if people knew the things that you knew about you, how would they respond, right? If you knew the things that somebody else know about themselves, how would you respond, right? Like how would you be like, yeah, after all that, I forgive you. Then even furthermore, you know the real truths and the hard truths that you may not be willing to deal with or accept, such as you put yourself in the same position again. You are too afraid to come out of your comfort zone or different things like that. And you keep getting the same result because you're afraid to do new things or whatever. Or, the deeper roots are things that did genuinely happen to you or that are traumatic to you that no one else knows. And it just makes it just like seem impossible to forgive yourself for sometimes things that you didn't even do, but you were just a part of, that you just allowed to happen. So you are hard on yourself about the accountability. So y'all know I gotta Google some stuff. I gotta check out some scripture and everything to and take it to God, a journal with him to see, like, am I on the right track for what I'm thinking? So this is what scripture I got connected with. Psalms 101:12. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. So we are unwilling to forgive ourselves for whatever we've done, whatever we have gone through, whatever kind of things are from the past. Like we're holding on to every little thing that we know about ourselves. When God is removing our transgressions and he throwing them as far as the east is from the west. Like that's far. I can't even fathom how far the east is from the west. Do anybody scientifically know that? I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google that another day. But like we don't. Why are we so hard on ourselves? Like essentially, we're holding ourselves to a standard that God's not even holding us to. Like when we come to him, he forgives us for our sins when we come to him. He makes us new. He cleanses us. He transforms us. And even as we grow through our journey and we become new versions of ourselves or better versions of ourselves, like we still hold on to unforgiveness internally towards ourselves, even as a new person, even as we've grown, because we're holding on to the memories of what we know about ourselves, what we know about our past, what we've done in the past. And y'all, that's holding us back. It's holding us back. It's holding us back. Like if we are holding ourselves to an unrealistic standard, like how can you never forgive yourself for something when you want to be different and want to be better? You're never letting go of that person or of that area or of that thing or the old ways you used to behave to make room for the what you want to do now. And even if you've already grown into it, you don't have space to keep growing and keep thriving. You're going to eventually hit a wall or hit a ceiling because you're not forgiving yourself, because you're not letting go of who you used to be. Because you new now, you brand new, you different. And You know what I just thought about that's really saying about us? That's really saying that we didn't accept God's grace. Like the free gift of grace God gave to us. We're not even accepting it. Because he's gracious enough to forgive us for our sins. And we're not even and rid us of all guilt and shame. So we don't have to carry around the guilt and shame of our past, of all the things that we were doing, um, or choices that we made prior to growing to love ourselves, prior to stepping and growing in our faith with God and building a relationship with him. So prior to all those things, he forgives us of everything that we've done, even while we're in our faith journey, still dipping back, still making mistakes, still struggling to become more like Christ, still going through the process of him cleansing us, because he's constantly growing us and changing us and cleansing us and revealing to us all the things about ourselves to help us become the best versions of ourselves that would be like him and in his image. We're constantly doing that. It never really stops. But even as we fall short, even if as we make mistakes, God is continuing and continuously forgiving us with giving us grace. His grace and mercy is new every single day. So he forgiving us every single day for the things, or giving us mercy every single day for the things that we've done the day before. And you can't forgive yourself for the thing you did in 2005. Be for real. Be for real. Like, y'all, I'm sitting here just journaling and thinking about that, because that's crazy. God is on a whole nother level than us. And we down here with ourselves acting as if we are incapable of forgiving ourselves and letting go of our past, letting go of the guilt and the shame that we're holding ourselves to, that's weighing us down, and rejecting the gift of grace that he's given us, rejecting the forgiveness he's given us. Y'all, we showing out. We showing out by not forgiving ourselves. And I keep saying we because I've done it before. And I'm sure that there's certain times where I'm still very, very hard on myself and find myself slipping into the thoughts of not even saying like past things that I'm not willing to forgive myself for, but like currently, like what I did yesterday. Like if I feel like I'm being very, busy and overwhelmed and frustrated, and I didn't tend to my children as much as I typically would for a day, I feel like, oh, I didn't mom the way that I typically do. Oh, they're gonna, feel neglected, and just start ripping myself apart and being like, oh, you can't forgive yourself that you're turning into a bad mom and all this kind of stuff. It's like, girl, you messed up one day. You weren't as attentive one day because you were very busy. Just try again tomorrow. Like, there's no reason to beat yourself up and create a space to where you're starting to build up anything that could turn into something you would have to let go of or forgive yourself for, even in the present. Because we talk about the past a lot as if there aren't things we go through every single day that we are holding on to that essentially still is unforgiveness. Like if you can't forgive yourself for, something you did Monday, and it's tearing up and distracting you for the rest of your week, like that's still holding you back. That's still dead weight. That's still you not accepting God's grace and mercy being new the next day. Like, I don't understand why we act as if we can't wake up tomorrow and just try again. Like, you can't wake up tomorrow and give it a shot again tomorrow. You can't wake up tomorrow and do something different. And maybe that's some way, somehow connected to why it's hard to forgive ourselves, because maybe we don't believe we've actually changed. Maybe we don't believe we've actually grown. Maybe we're still afraid that we'll go back to who we used to be. We'll go back to those choices. Maybe we're still afraid of things like that, like as if the change isn't different, That's a good thought piece. I'm gonna think about that some more, y'all. I'm gonna think about that, like, because I did something in the past and now I'm gone to the present where I've grown or walked away or trying to become better, and I'm still holding on internally to who I used to be. I don't think it's ever been because I wanted to be that person again, but maybe I was afraid that because I had been that person so long, because what I was walking into, it was new and scary, and I just wasn't confident at the time if I could maintain the new level that I was at, that I would keep kind of like a little shadow of what used to be. Just, I don't know. Maybe it was motivation gone wrong, y'all. Maybe I was trying to hold on to it to keep myself from going back, but really, I needed to let it go so that I could fully step into who I had become, who I was becoming, the new choices and decisions that I was making now versus always being afraid that I might go back there. So I'm constantly thinking about what used to be there, who I used to be, how I used to behave, relationships I used to be in. Like, y'all, that's crazy a little bit. That's crazy a little bit, y'all. But at the end of the day, I want y'all to just go sit whenever y'all got time. Just go sit and think about, are there any areas internally that you are still holding on to that are connected to your past, or anything that you've grown from that you're still holding on to and you haven't forgiven yourself for? Think about why. Maybe journal out or talk through why, and see if you can start to work through if this is just something I need to just let go of. Is this something I just need to accept God's grace on, and that He's forgiven me for this sin? Is this something that I just need to, be gracious towards myself about and be like, it was just one time, or it was just a mistake, or you've grown past this. Like, sit with yourself and think about that, and then begin to do the work and the steps around forgiving yourself so you can free yourself to move on to the person you are now, the person you are becoming, the goals you want to achieve, the type of relationship you are in now, because it can even hinder and hold back the relationships we are currently in, the ones we are building, because of something in the past. And sometimes, and a lot of times, that's why I journaled about this today, because it's not always about someone else. It's not always about forgiving someone else. Sometimes it's about you. And even if you've forgiven someone else, but you haven't forgiven yourself about the fact that you allowed X, Y, and Z, like, that still could hold you back. So sit with yourself, think about it, see how far you can get with starting the process. If you want someone to talk through it with you, you can always message me or hit me up. If you don't have a journal and you're looking for a journal, you could also, they should be linked in the bottom of the video to get it digitally or hard copy prayer journal, so you can start to journal it out. I even have in there scriptures by categories based off what it is that you may be struggling with. So you can go pull you a scripture from that category, and then you can kind of go from there and start to journal and sit with God about that. And of course, if you would like to start the 52-week challenge with me and hop right in, or join our support group community, those things will be linked in the bottom as well, or you can comment below and I'll send it directly to you. I think that's all I got for y'all today in my journaling time. If you have not seen this week's podcast episode, click right over to the podcast tab and go ahead and take a look at it and see if you have had any struggles with forgiving yourself, or any misconceptions you had around forgiving someone else, like what you thought that would mean, because I went through that this week in the full podcast episode. And all of our social media will be linked at the bottom. And until next Saturday.